Hello, this is the video overview of Chapter 12, which is the final chapter in our course on shareholders' equity. This concludes our overview of accounting for all sides of the balance sheet. We talked about assets, talked about liabilities, and equity is typically kind of the last chapter. This chapter is very straightforward, probably one of the easiest chapters in the whole course. It deals with just accounting for stock issuances. Different types of stock, common stock, preferred stock, but how do you essentially raise capital in the market through stock issuances, and how you do return of capital to the shareholders through stock buybacks, also known as stock repurchases, when the company buys back stock, which is a form of return of capital to the shareholders. The other form of that, of course, is the form of payment of dividends, and there are different types of dividends. The most common one, of course, the one we're all familiar with, is the cash dividend payments. But also dividends could be paid in property, which you need to account for that in the fair value of property, or they could be issued as stock dividends as well. In other words, you can provide for dividend payment by issuing more shares to the shareholders. This latter type of dividend, in fact, does not change the total amount of equity issuance. It simply represents kind of just splitting. It's almost like a mini stock split. That's what it is. Doesn't change the total claim that the equity holders have on the company at all. As such, it doesn't change the amount of equity issued. And in the very end, we'll talk a little bit about the stock splits, for which there is actually no journal entry, because it's just essentially changing the denomination of shares issued from essentially, reprinting the number of or the value of the shares, or the par value of the shares, changing it and changing the number of shares issued. But again, does not affect the total number of shares issued. So total amount of equity. I'm sorry. So that's pretty much chapter 12. Very straightforward, pretty short. Nice conclusion to our course. But don't forget, in the end of the chapter, to take a look at the end of chapter exercises for the answers and the study guide. And thanks very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the course, and wishing you all the best. Thanks. Bye-bye.